You're now listening to Vices and Vultures, a podcast on cultures. Welcome back to the Unpacked segment of Vices and Vultures, where we share from our collection of solo interviews done by the co-hosts. What's going on, everybody? This is A2. I've been documented on this podcast almost stressing the power of Instagram in my professional and personal life. It has led to many interviews you have heard so far in this season. The next one you will hear is no different, but it also highlights the importance of the platform and the guests you will hear. Yes, you will hear two voices next, that of Ethan and Bree, the minds behind Courier Design. Graphic designing to me is one of the most underrated aspects of marketing today. Both Ethan and Bree do such a fantastic job with it, and here are their stories.
A little bit about what we are focusing on right now for graphic design is a lot of packaging design right now and brand identity, as you know. So those are two things that we focus on a lot, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So beer packaging seems to be a thing right now that we're working on, and that's kind of continued and evolved, so that's been a blast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Been seeing that from the while. So what about you, Bree?
I think we're starting to bring in a lot of animation too, to a lot of the branding that we've been making. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about that. We've worked on a couple of projects with some web designing and stuff like that, but still gonna keep pushing that further as much as possible. But whenever the client's ready for it, we'll give it. Yeah.
So is the animation something that has just barely started, or like have you already been like messing around with it, seeing how it works for you guys?
I've had a little bit of experience with animation within my background at an agency, but just recently we have really been pushing forward to wanting to include that as a service for courier design. So I think that's something that people can really value visually, other than just like their logo being static, or like if they want to use it in video and stuff like that, that would be great.
Yep. So. Yeah, definitely, because it's almost as if we're media companies in a sense, and everybody that has a brand identity wants to really push it forward has to just continue to think of ways of how am I going to get this brand identity, this business concept to pop in front of everybody. So I think that's really awesome. So before Courier Design was a thing, because that is the company that you guys have put as both of you guys, correct?
Yeah. So Courier Design, I actually started like a little bit before. I think it was even before we even started talking together.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a legal name. I came up with the name Courier. This idea of being not just a messenger, but someone who delivers, and delivers something that's simple and straightforward and lasts long. And since we started our relationship, that kind of evolved, and I wanted her to be involved with that because she has a lot of skills and ideas that I don't have. So it works really well where we balance each other's strengths and weaknesses out. So I can focus on my strengths and she can focus on hers. And it works pretty well. But before Courier Design, you want to talk about the agency stuff?
Yeah, I guess before I was started to put my work into Courier Design, it was just kind of based off of an agent that I worked with, and I was working with like a lot of like animations, and basically was a mini art director in a way. So I was in charge of a lot of clientele work that helped them launch their products. So it was a lot of work, a lot of hats, but a lot of that work was it had a lot of tech design based. So but other than that, I kind of just wanted to focus on more of a simplicity design, which I think that Ethan kind of really helped open my eyes to that when we first started dating. So before when I first started following him on Instagram. So, and that's something that I really wanted to bring into my own design too. So I was starting to dabble with trying to be more simple with my design. So that was pretty interesting. And that's kind of how our like relationship started in a way.
Yeah, in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Because we followed each other. I was interested in the content that she liked. Right. And it just kind of hit off from there. And she liked the design content I post and stuff. And I kind of, experiment a lot on my page. I try a lot of different things, and then it might go back to a certain direction and stuff. But she just happened to resonate with it, and that sparked up a conversation.
Yeah.
So how long ago was all of this? Because now I'm learning so much.
Yeah, it's funny. We don't really talk too much about how long ago it was because it's all gone by so fast. But it would have been 2016 is what I remember.
It may have been before then that I had followed you, but it was like I follow a bunch of designers that I wanted kind of to be influenced by, and he was one of them, and I don't know, it just became like we ended up just started talking to each other through I don't know, it was Twitter.
It was Twitter. Yeah. There's some topic that you were interested in.
Some design topic, and I asked him a question about it, and then it just kind of evolved from there. But I want to say it might have been like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been somewhere around that. Yeah, early 2016, maybe like January. That's what I would say. I don't know. We don't have the messages anymore.
Nah, that's kind of wild though, because of how because I think that was about the time that I started following you, Ethan, and then like I started digging deeper, and then I saw like, oh, there's a Brianna too, like, oh, they're together, oh, that's sick, because like as I said before, there's not a lot of times that you will find the two people like in the same industry and be able to hit it off like on social media nonetheless, because that's such a very rare type of scenario. But it's cool. It's awesome. And so by the time Courier became a thing, because Ethan, it had been planted in your mind for at this point by a while. So was the strengths, weaknesses, and the complementary nature of it, did it come from just realizing that you were finally at a point where you can put this out, and then you had somebody who's also somebody that you're dating that can cover like and meet everything else? Was that kind of just how it came about, because you had kind of like preparation meets opportunity?
Sure. I think it wasn't an instant thing, but I think obviously as we grew together as designers, and we, you go through we both actually do have day jobs.
Right.
And, so, the struggles you go through on those day jobs, just things, design thinking, and different inspirations that we like, and discussions like that. I mean, it's on a regular basis, and it's kind of cool to have someone like that you fully understand, and different, not just one category, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of evolved. It wasn't like a thing right away where you said you really wanted to do Courier instantly, but you were interested, and I think you didn't mention it for a while.
I didn't mention it for a while, but I saw that you had started the Instagram for Courier Design, and then I kind of, but that's something that we had a conversation about, like, oh, well, what do you see, like, in the future, like, for design between, like, you and I, or, like, you had asked me a question about, like, oh, well, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to, like, stay at an agency job that, that I was doing? And I was like, no, I want to do something better, something different. And I had always had in the back of my mind of, like, I actually want to work for myself. Like, I want to be a freelancer. Right. Like, that's the bigger picture for me. And then you were like, oh, well, I'm doing Courier designs. Do you want to do it with me? Basically. And that's kind of when it started. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do this.
And just coming to reality with it, that fact that her agency experience, like, she got a ton of Photoshop mastering and other just Kickstarter campaigns, learning how to, show product design, and like show how to sell that, how to, communicate the benefits of things, and that's something I never really had a background in.
Yeah, a lot of advertising stuff, so that really helps. Like, if we want to push for that.
Definitely. Yeah, it's good to be versatile, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's so interesting because having this conversation now, a couple of years removed from when this all began. It's just amazing to me how much power there is in just putting your first foot forward, your best foot forward, and continuing to like be consistent. Because that was the thing about you that I really appreciated, was the consistency. I feel like a lot of people who are in the creative space get stuck in a rut because something else trips them up from being consistent, because like it's more of like, I'll only be consistent if I get this particular look or this whatever, but you just kept going, and you just trusted that it evolved over time. So what I'm curious about is, we're all guilty of being in our heads, but at what point were you like, let me take it to social media, let me take it to a marketing platform to leverage, and kind of just like told yourself like, okay, this has to be a thing, because look at what it got you. Somebody's sitting right next to you because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really cool, and it kind of blows my mind thinking about it, because none of that stuff was ever expected or planned too much. It was more about, well, with Instagram, I think, so my background, I didn't have a design job right out of college. I actually worked a normal job in the warehouse, and that building is actually across from the building I work today. So I'm a production designer for Victoria's Secret right now.
Okay.
That's my day job. And, but anyways, back to the warehouse, I was actually, I was just doing normal manual labor, and it was pretty tough and stuff. And I burnt a lot of calories. I could eat anything and not, gain an ounce. But, it gave me a lot of time to think during that really sort of mindless job, doing the same thing every day. And so I started, that's kind of when I started my Instagram. It might have been mid 2014 when I was doing a lot of photo editing with like lots of grunge textures and very moody. And I was super into that environment. I still love that stuff today.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish I could do another account on that, but there's just no time to prioritize that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It was a niche community of people who loved moody, like nature photography with a lot of texture and grunge, and those people were all extremely supportive of each other, and I liked that, and that's what got me into Instagram even more. And then I think also design history is a huge impact on the work I do today. I'm not sure how much you've kind of dug into, some of the book posts I've done in the past, things like that, but that's really important stuff to my process as a designer, and I think it pushes both of us a lot. Just stuff that puts us in our place and we can learn from. I think that's really important. And so, we can go all day and kind of talk about how it all evolved. So,
for sure.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to, I found things, just like you said, I found things that interested me, different accounts and things that I saw was like, wow, that's really clean and straightforward kind of work. I want to be like that, because I feel like my personality resonates with that no-nonsense kind of mentality. So, everything in our past really makes us who we are today.
Right.
A manual labor job, that was no nonsense, right? I was influenced by industrial objects and things that are very mechanical and heavy and bold, and I like that. I embraced it, It sucked to be in a manual labor job for 2.5 years, but it made me who I am today, and I get to carry those things I learned on to design in a way. Right. So, a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. What I really like about what you said is the fact that, you were able to just carve out time and just be like, you know what, even though I have this day job, I'm still going to put in time and just share this thing. It's like the most important thing. I remember when I started following you, because I think our timelines are pretty much like what you're telling about, like the time and place. Like I'm also remembering like where I was at during that time. So I remember during that time, I got into production probably about a year before, and I was like, you know what, let me just figure out my sound. So just went 100 straight days and just made something every day. And it was just it's kind of like what's going on right now, I believe, is 36 days of type, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, where it's just it forces you to get into a creative mindset on a regular basis, something that ironically a lot of creatives kind of forget to do. And then just go and then look back and see like where that takes you, because be it like 36 days of type or like whatever else that keeps you consistent on social is like what a lot of people are looking towards, and then you just create that community. So you mentioned that community too. So was it more of like was it easy to find like the communities as far as design and stuff? Because I feel that sometimes people can get overwhelmed by thinking, you know, about just diving into something like Instagram, because there's a lot of different like little cultures that you can kind of get into. So was it easy to navigate for you as soon as you kind of just like got into your headset of sharing?
I think earlier on I was certainly more distracted by all the different stuff I liked.
Right.
But I got into, I think those people were they were really welcoming. So I stuck to that photo editing thing for a while. And I was into that because I liked album artwork. I loved, I listened to a lot of heavy metal back then. I still do today, but that was, a big influence. Even in high school before college, that was like huge to me. And I loved that grunge. I actually connected with a guy, Daniel McBride. He does design like album art for Sumerian Records, and him and I, like, every once in a while we'll comment on each other's stuff, and it's just cool to like connect with people that you look up to. And everything.
Absolutely.
Eventually I think, like I said, design history and stuff, when I started understanding the mentality behind that, I started finding designers like that, and then I just kind of connected with some of them, and I think that became more focused. And then I understood, like, well, the photo editing stuff is cool, but does it actually add value? And I think that now what we do, it's all about serving other people. Like, we do a lot of work for ourselves, but that's because that's work that we enjoy, and we know there's always someone out there that will also enjoy it just as much as we do.
Right.
So, you trick the system into getting paid, right, to do what you love, and those people love it too.
Yeah.
Imagine that. It actually works.
Yeah. No, I'm with that 100%. And I love what you had implied about the meaning behind what you guys do as far as courier, because it is service at the end of the day. Like, client work is, something that, everybody who has done some ounce of freelance or enough freelance knows that, you have to prioritize what the client wants, and they love you for that. And that's like really for any business. I teach, and so prioritizing the children's like happiness and safety, and like the parents as well, is like all part of like the plan of just, sometimes just listening and just being like, that's why this podcast is fun, because like I get to listen to like the most unlikely of stories, and it's just it happens because I just sit and listen, and like that's such a big part of service and work. It's just, and even when you have so much to say, it's just like fascinating how if you listen, the result always goes slightly better. Bree, when you were starting to share your work, your design work on social media, and eventually found out about Ethan's work, what was your mindset along that way? Had you always had a design like penchant, or was this something that kind of just came with job opportunities?
So it kind of came about like with job opportunities for sure. That was in the back of my mind. But I know my Instagram's kind of like, it's more of like based off of like socially what I'm up to, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it started. And then I started
personable.
Yeah, definitely more personable. And then I started out kind of like wanting to include like my artwork, and I had like started a 100-day project, which was like 100 days of watercoloring, and I was like going hard on it, and then just, I don't know, like I hit like I totally
How far did you get?
Wall.
I'm curious.
I don't know. I'd have to like go back, and I don't even know if I've archived some of them, but that's kind of like, I think that's when Ethan was noticing like that I was doing stuff on there, but like just was kind of like, I wanted just like an artistic outlet for me, because I do have a lot of, I have started out with going to school for design, but I do have like a very artistic background, so I was like super into watercoloring and painting and acrylics and stuff growing up. So that's something that like stuck with me, and so I wanted to kind of show that on my Instagram. And there was like here and there people would like comment like, oh, they love this and that and stuff, and so that kind of was cool. But design started becoming a thing prior to, I think, Ethan and I like having conversations, but it was very illustration based, not like design, like simplicity design, simple design, or logo design, any of that. It was definitely not that. It was illustrations mostly, just because I wanted to find like, it was like a process of like growing away from the artist
for sure.
So but it was a good thing because I was kind of pushing myself more into using Illustrator or showing my work, because I got to the point where I felt like, I don't know, I was just so discouraged. I would see so many people, like so many Instagrams that were like large and like massive with so many followers and so much content. I mean, that I kind of get like scared of.
Yeah, but some of them probably bought them. So let's be real. Somebody probably bought the followers. You have to factor that in.
Yeah, it was kind of just like, so that kind of made me hesitate on posting stuff.
Right. Happens.
And then I got to the point where when we started talking, I started posting more, because he was like, why do you care about like what people are going to say about your stuff? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't know why.
Yep.
So, change.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't. Think about it.
Oh, for real. I feel like everybody kind of gets to that point of self-conversation. It's just like, why are you spending time comparing? Just like go ahead and that was the driving force behind everything over the past couple of years, even though I had to like reposition it, because what ended up happening was like I had to, separate the music from the marketing, because they were so like related, but they weren't. And it was so hard to like make that clear on social, because like I didn't know anybody that really was like kind of like in that. It was kind of just new territory for where I was. But what I like about your Instagram, Bree, is the fact that you integrate your design work and your lifestyle work, or like not lifestyle work, but just your lifestyle. So seamlessly. So it's just like, she's designing for a courier, but she's also like going to concerts and like going out with Ethan, like just hanging out, things like that. Like it's very casual. It's very it doesn't ask for a lot, and I think that's really cool, because I feel like social media, there's a lot of there's just a lot of reaching involved, and it's just like, why reach when you can just live the most honest the most honest life you can. So is it always kind of like this, like you guys just like super chill, like kind of like to yourselves, you like going out, or what's the lifestyle balance, I guess, between the design aspect, the courier, all that stuff, 9 to 5, and then just managing that with relationship? Does it kind of go hand in hand at this point, or what?
Yeah, I think it does go hand in hand. Yeah.
True. I mean, I think so, because like we're in the same location. So Limited Brands, or L Brands is what it's called. They're the parent company of Bath and Body Works, which is where she works, and then Victoria's Secret. So our buildings are across from each other. Nice. And where I used to work in the warehouse, in the back of her building now. So she works in the front office in the building I used to work in. And then so I work in the front office of the other building across. So they have a bunch of buildings. They're a very big company.
Right.
But yeah, it works pretty good because of location, and her place is like real close to work. So that's pretty awesome. And we spend a lot of time here just because of time, right? We can prioritize things, get things done quick right after work. We're 5 minutes away. So it's pretty awesome to do that. And I mean, we love film. We watch a lot of film too, but and I play a lot of video games, so it's like we stay up late because it's like you can't do everything we do, and not you have to have some downtime and have fun too.
Right.
And so it's like sometimes we're not doing any of that, but other times it's nice to like take a change of pace. So
right.
It works out good, I think.
Yeah, I think we have a good balance. It really all depends on the amount of client work we do have too. So like some come back home from work and we are like, okay, we have to meet this deadline, so we'll jump on it and start collaborating with each other, or one person works on something, the other person works on another portion of that. I think we don't really have like a determined like, okay, we could only have the designated like these many days with design or stuff like that.
Yeah, it's more chill.
Yeah, we're very relaxed. It's nothing
right.
That. So.
It's intense when you have a lot of projects, but it's also super fun, and it's cool right now because we don't have any like crazy deadlines, so we can do 36 days of type, and we have more like passive income type thing opportunities, like with beer labels, like where their companies can basically pick out certain designers, and if they pick us, we get a cut, so that's kind of cool. It's nice to have a lot of time to be able to come up with passion projects and stuff. So I'm really excited for the upcoming stuff, different print ideas and label ideas and things like that. So hopefully we can execute all that pretty soon here without having, crazy deadlines or anything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Time for everything,
That's awesome. I love how the casual approach just flows into like both aspects, and it's still super cool to just think about like how all this kind of just happened because you just took that best step forward. Just like, you know what, let's start sharing this stuff on Instagram. Let's start seeing what the world thinks about this. So are there advantages you guys find in being in both worlds, where it's like you have the 9-to-5 and you have the freelance world? Do you find yourself like kind of borrowing from what both benefit and kind of just like feeding it all into each other?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Do you want to speak to that a little bit on your side? You think yours? Maybe not as much for her because she had so much agency experience before. Yeah. She was, you were super challenged, right?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I was super challenged beforehand.
Because you were more independent, right?
Yeah. But now it's kind of... It's easier of a job because everything is kind of separated out better within this corporation. But what I bring to the table for Courier is still like site design.
And animation.
Yeah, right. That became like kind of a thing out of like my own back pocket versus work. So
just an interest, and she's gotten good at it. There's a lot of math and patience to the animation stuff. And not, since we haven't showed anything because we're self-critical about like the 3D stuff, but we want to get into C4D and do, work with typography, make it kinetic and things like that. But digital she's digital for Bath and Body Works.
Okay.
So, and the stuff is just not that much of a challenge. It's more like retail design is crazy, right? So it's very fast-paced. It's all about getting things out as much as possible, as fast as possible. There's not always that, like, wait, check yourself, make sure this stuff is long-lasting, because the way the company works is more based on, that what's it called? Impulsive kind of buying. I mean, to be upfront, that's type of market because that's out there, and most people out there are more like emotional buyers.
Yep.
In the female category too. Yeah. That would be
So I don't get to really design or like get to use as much as like my 9-to-5 job like skills.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't want to. Like Courier design to
for sure.
That's not what we're trying to.
For sure. But that brings a like very interesting dynamic because I was not aware of, yes, the emotional buying for sure, but like the process behind that. Was not aware of that, and I think that's very eye opening because it kind of says a lot about like what the process is like itself. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, large companies are interesting. There's so many facets of leadership too. So there's a lot that we don't know, and you have to do your very best to solve the problems that you're given, and Yeah, so it's very fast paced. For me, I work on print stuff. So actually, as a production designer, I've learned a ton of things, and I've also been able to apply that to beer labels, for example, or chocolate packaging, things like that, because it's like those little details do matter. You need to measure things out. You need to get the colors right, the Pantone codes, all that stuff does matter.
Yep, definitely.
If you're not passionate about those things, then maybe this isn't the right field for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, the details, right? You know all about that with music. Like, you're going to play it a certain way, that note, and if it's not exactly that way, then you have to practice more. So,
right.
Things like that.
There you go. Like that, that was just like my speech this whole past week. You got it right there.
That's good.
Yeah, because you got to remind them, you got to let them know. But yeah, that's super awesome, and I really resonate with that. And speaking of that, I wanted to talk about just more of, since courier has been a thing for a while, you guys have like really taken the time to kind of establish who you guys are in the visual space at Instagram. What are like a few things that you had noticed along the way as far as bringing this, because it's been in your head, Ethan, for quite some time, and being able to manifest it now? Like, what are some things that you have like learned and seen, especially for people who are listening? There's a lot of people that I run into that are freelancers and things like that, and just anybody who considers that, because it's very viable these days. So what did you see kind of like in the process of courier becoming an actual entity?
Yeah, I mean, that's a loaded question for sure, but I think that it's all about finding what you love to do, really. I mean, you have to focus on that, and you have to experiment a lot too. When I was in the warehouse, like, when I had downtime, maybe because I operated a crane, right? I would take my little field notes, and if I had downtime, I would be 60 feet up in the air, and I would draw a little bit. I would just think of things that inspired me, things that I love to do. Like, find things that you do and that make you smile, and just figure out how to do that more, and experiment with it, and tell everybody around you in your life that you love to do that stuff. It's kind of funny to see what reactions, and it's crazy how many people don't do that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people you'll be around, and they don't, I don't know. There's like, did someone make a law around that where you can't tell people what you're interested in? Like, right. I mean, it's a weird thing. A lot of people are, they just don't stop to realize, like, just show people around you. You never know what you could create, what opportunities. Yep. I mean, there were people who I connected with in the warehouse who I did like small little, knockoff jobs, but it was like kind of cool to do design work for them, and it's because I wasn't afraid to show them what I was into, right?
Yeah. No, you bring up a very good point about that, because just going back to just being confident in that. I think there's an element of shame, because even though there's so much more opportunity, to be able to think so open-mindedly about like, oh, I want to make this particular project a business, an LLC, that type of thing. It's very ambitious. There's a lot of trains of thought that still exist today that don't necessarily support that, because it's unrealistic, blah blah blah, things like that. So but putting your best foot forward and showing people what you can do is always something. Did you want to add to that, Bree? Was there anything that you realized this thing took fruition, like to add to what Ethan said, as far as what you learned as a freelancer, as a designer, as an entrepreneur, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I guess don't be afraid to post your stuff, and those, if you have an idea and you want to make it into a side project, do it, because that could literally be something that leads into your style, your or a new process that you find, or a client that's going to reach out to you. Like, and I think that was like something that really Ethan always pushes me to do constantly. So whether it's just like a project or just posting, like, don't be afraid of that, because you have nothing to fear. It's just Instagram.
Yeah, it really is.
Literally just Instagram.
Yeah, it's just Instagram, and a lot of people put, these, I don't know, ideas, and like, they think that so-and-so is better than so-and-so. Just like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, it's human
We're-
nature, and you have to get over it and not be so human sometimes.
I was very Gary V of you. I like that. Just get over it, just just do great stuff. Guys, it's been really cool to kind of just, sit and talk about not only freelance based stuff, but just like how that intertwines into your life. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys, and it's really cool to kind of like see you guys face to face over FaceTime and kind of fill in like the gaps of like what I've kind of just seen over the years. What you guys are building is really cool. Do you have an idea of kind of what's next, or you just kind of taking one step at a time, see where Courier kind of serves people in the next 5 years? Probably.
Definitely in the next 5 years. I mean, there's no like real specific expectations. We definitely take it day by day and just do what we love as much as possible. So there's, a handful of different fields of interest that are interested in our stuff. So that's kind of cool. But I don't know. There's no like, specific thing that we expect.
Right.
We kind of admire the surprise it brings us, because it brought us this surprise.
Yeah.
Right.
So
True.
Yeah.
Right now.
The fun part about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Vices and Vultures and considering being a supporter of this project.
Even leaving a review on your preferred podcast platform goes a long way for us.
There is more information about this episode, as well as who we are, in the show notes.
This includes all of our social media links so you can see us and not just hear us.
Vices and Vultures is brought to you by Aesthetic and is based in the great state of New York.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast for more episodes.
And tune in next time to Vices and Vultures.